tonight on the Final Play.
Blitz, one-on-one coverage, and he beat it. Mike Evans, Buccaneer touchdown.
The Saints come up short against the Bucs and drop their 5th straight season opener.
You just saw it happen, so there's no buts after that. There's no, you have to come ready to play in this league, period.
We're making sense of the Black and Gold's baffling start to the season with Deuce McAllister.
You know, for the Saints, not only from a defensive standpoint, they have to detail the work because they did a poor job of doing that today.
Plus, Ed Ogeron is less than pleased with LSU's victory over Southeastern. Tulane takes care of business against Nichols, and high school football delivers high drama.
From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Final Play, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealer, built Ford tough, and Nissan.
Welcome into the Final Play. I'm Juan Kincaid, and if you were in the Dome today, you needed to have your head on a swivel. A simple football game between the Saints and Bucs turned into a track meet, and the Saints could not keep up. Sean Vazana has more on the Saints losing their first game of the season for the 5th straight year.
It's the game the Saints just cannot seem to figure out. For the 5th year in a row and 7th time in the last 8 years, they begin their season with a loss. But this time, it was to a division rival who put up 48 points in front of a stunned stadium of Hoodats.
You have to come ready to play in this league, period.
That includes when the opponent's starting quarterback is not playing. Leading up to the game, the Saints said all the right things regarding Jameis Winston's backup, Ryan Fitzpatrick. They knew he was more than capable. And today, they got a full dose of Fitz magic. To put it bluntly, he torched the Saints, both running and throwing, for 5 total touchdowns and nearly 450 total yards of offense.
He's shown a lot that he's stepped through the pocket. He's rolled out. He started rolling out. He made a lot of plays with his feet, including the last, would be the last active play of the game. It's something that you have to be aware of. Again, I said it earlier this week that he was a lot more deceptively fast than people thought he was. But we had that in the game plan to try and take care of that. He did a great job in evading us. That's on me. That's on the D-line. That's something that we'll have to focus on for this upcoming week, especially with Tyrod Taylor or whoever is going to be their starter.
He played lights out. I don't know if he could have played any better. He was really, really good.
Of course, he was aided by a Saints defense that struggled on all levels. They got minimal pressure, were gashed in the ground game, and committed several coverage busts that led to big play after big play.
First off, I thought the quarterback, for the most part, was pressure-free. And that's going to be tough. And if he's pressure-free, then the receivers are running through the defense. That makes it doubly tough. So somewhere you got to disrupt the timing of the passing game.
Offensively, the Saints were on point. They opened the game with a near-flawless drive that ended with a Taysom Hill handoff to Alvin Kamara for a touchdown. Drew Brees threw for 439 yards and 3 touchdowns, while Michael Thomas set a franchise record with 16 receptions.
Brees drops back, has a man wide open in the end zone, Mike Thomas.
But when a game gets into a score-for-score kind of contest, any mistake can be catastrophic. And that was true Sunday, when Mike Gillislee's second-quarter fumble was returned for a touchdown, and Thomas's fumble in the third quarter stalled a promising Saints drive.
If you just look at, okay, we gave them a touchdown with a turnover, right? And then we turned the ball over another time when we were in a position to get points. Minimum 3 points, potentially more. But that's a 10-point swing. And so despite all the other stuff, a 10-point swing in this game is a huge deal, right? It wins the game for us.
So now the Saints are 0-1. There's plenty of time to get things corrected and get back on track. They did so last year. Still, Sean Payton cautioned that playing like they did Sunday was reminiscent of a time this team does not want to go back to.
That's not the type of game that suits us, and that's the type of game we played in years past when we've been a 500 team. So got a lot of work to do, a lot of things to correct, way too many mistakes.
Joined now by Saints Hall of Famer Deuce McAllister, Fox 8 sports analyst as well. All right, Deuce, man, we can go a lot of ways here. Why don't we start with Ryan Fitzpatrick? Look, we all knew he's a capable quarterback that's made a lot of plays in this league, and even in a short window can be as prolific as Jameis Winston. I think we saw Fitz magic today. Well,
when he had an opportunity to play last year, he was successful. I think from the standpoint of him being this successful was kind of surprising. I thought that, you didn't make him move enough from a from his spot standpoint, he did show a little bit more versatility as far as running the football. Yeah. He had 9 rushes against us, and I think it was right at 36, 38 yards. That's a lot for any quarterback, particularly a guy that's not known to be a scrambler, but he did just enough to keep this defense on its heels when they lost containment, not only on the last key 3rd down play, but earlier in the game, knowing what coverages it was, knowing when he could take off, and it was just, for the Saints, not only from a defensive standpoint, they have to detail the work because they did a poor job of doing that today.
It really felt like every time Fitzpatrick ran the ball, forget throwing it because he really was prolific throwing the ball, but every time he ran it, it's like it moved the sticks. It was the perfect time, perfect choice to run the football. Okay, I can't find any bright spots defensively today. It was almost like, hey guys, this thing started. It's about to get it's real now. It's not about to get real. It is real now.
Normally you have an exceptional play or two from the defense. Everything was probably average or below average. And that's being honest. And so it's going to have to be guys really checking themselves and making sure that everyone is locked in because you're going to play a really good team next week. And so for them, you go back, you watch the film, and you make sure what happened today doesn't happen next week.
Offensively, look, they put up 40, but I feel like when you get into a game where it's kind of shot for shot, score for score, any mistake can be crucial. And I thought the Mike Gillislee fumble really spun the game, and then the Mike Thomas fumble, you were kind of like, okay, perhaps we got a route here, and obviously they came back. But still, those 2 big turnovers really cost the offense.
Really hurt them because now they're chasing points, from the standpoint of having to go for it as far as 2-point conversions are concerned, but then also changing it from they only had 13 rushing attempts. And so from what they could do from an offensive standpoint, it really put them in a bad situation. So we know the fumble return for a touchdown hurt you. Mike Thomas is driving, made the guy miss, doesn't squeeze it, gets hit from behind, ball pops out. That's somewhat of bad luck, but you still have to take care of the football. If I'm them, I'm worried about the 2 drives coming out in the second half. They struggled. They had to punt, and some of it was self-inflicted wounds as far as making lost yardage or having to back themselves up. But at the same time, you got to go out and execute.
Look, Michael Thomas had the fumble, but it's hard to knock him completely. The guy had 17 targets, set a record with 16 catches. I mean, 13 was everywhere today.
He was everywhere, and you knew that with those young corners, they couldn't cover him. Even when Vernon Hargraves was in there, he wasn't going to be able to cover him. And you're just upset that it's in a loss, that he has 16 catches, and he had a really, really good game. Probably got robbed of 2 touchdowns. One, he was not touched. The ref, I don't know if he actually blew the whistle. I think it was, he just stopped the play. And the interesting thing about that, they couldn't go back and review it because I know Sean would have used a timeout to look at it, but they couldn't go back and review it. And then another time, Alvin Kamara was able to get in on a 1-yarder. They didn't want to stop the clock to go and review that one. I thought it was a touchdown as well.
I think overall, you've heard the term in the locker room and after the game, wake-up call. I think, look, if this isn't a wake-up, it's got to be something. I mean, look,
that's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is. This team is too talented to give up 48 points to anybody, but they're way too talented to give it up at home opening weekend. And so you have to lock in every week in the NFL, and if you don't, you see the results.
Did you sense this at all? I mean, I thought it was a good camp, thought it was a good preseason. Sure, they had their moments, but every preseason you're going to have your moments. I kind of like where their psyche was heading into this game. That's what makes this a little more baffling to me. Did you sense this at all in the offseason?
Action speaks.
Yeah.
So you have to go out and, it's detailing your work. And it's one thing to say that, hey, look, we know what we did wrong. You got to go out and show it. You got to go out and show it. And so I'm interested to see how they bounce back. They should have a lot of pep in their step. No major injuries for them. This week it's gonna test them a little bit because they know that we're back at home. You can't afford to start slow again. So what can we do different to have a different outcome?
You know Sean Payton as well as anyone. I mean, how do you think he's going to be this week?
The old Sean. I expect him to be the old Sean, and then just making sure guys understand what they have to do week in and week out. That's what they have to know.
It's 1 of 16, but still it's tough to start off a season 0-1 for what, the 5th year in a row. But hey, it happens. He's Deuce McAllister. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, gents. We're going to hear more from Deuce McAllister tomorrow. 8 a.m. You'll hear his Black and Gold Rewind. At 5 o'clock, Deuce's 2-minute drill will come your way. And tomorrow night at 10:35, we'll have the Black and Gold Review Show. You've got questions, we've got answers. Go to your FinalPlay app, click on the Final Word feature, and vent away. We know you've got a lot to say about this one. Coming up, much more from today's season opener Inside the Dome, including how the Bucs managed to dismantle the Saints defense. And later, we'll take a look back at a busy Saturday of college football as Tulane picked up its first win of the season and LSU won a tune-up for next week's road trip to Auburn.
You're watching The Final Play.
One of the biggest concerns as the Saints exited the preseason was its defense's ability to stop the opponent, any opponent. And that remains Sean Payton's primary concern after his D gave up 48 points and over 500 yards in total offense. Chris Hagan tries to explain what went wrong.
The Saints were the heavy favorites on paper, and a big reason why was cornerback Marshawn Lattimore. Flashback to a year ago. He had one of the league's most talented receivers, Tampa Bay's Mike Evans, visibly frustrated and off his game. But today was a great reminder of how the NFL works.
Nothing about last year carries over to this year. I've said it a million times.
Certainly the case for Evans, who caught all 7 targets from Ryan Fitzpatrick for 147 yards and a touchdown. 4 of those receptions coming with Lattimore in man coverage.
Yeah, he has some plays. He won a 50-50 ball, you know. I mean, it is what it is, the NFL. Everybody gonna have their day.
The 50-yard touchdown was the one that stings the most. And while it's certainly not easy having the shutdown corner label and the responsibility of man coverage without much help, Lattimore knows those are the plays that he can't let happen.
I just gotta be there. You know, I'm all on the island by myself. No help, no nothing. You know, he had a cut split, and he made a play.
But as we all saw, it wasn't just Lattimore. Far from it, in fact. When asked what the issue was with the defense, head coach Sean Payton simply responded, "Take your pick." They didn't do much right at all, and it leaves them a whole lot to clean up before hosting the Browns in 7 days. Reporting at the Dome, I'm Chris Hagan for The Final Play.
If you're looking for a leg up in your fantasy football, check out Chris Hagan's Extra Point blog on fox8live.com and our Final Play app. From advice on who to start and sit to forward-thinking strategy, he's got it all for you. As for the Saints' next opponent, the Browns opened at home today against the Steelers. Antonio Brown with a 22-yard touchdown reception from Ben Roethlisberger. 3 plays, 74 yards. Steelers up by 14-7. More Steelers, James Conner, this a 22-yard run. And Pittsburgh holding on to a 21-7 lead in control, right? Into the fourth quarter now, Browns down by a touchdown. Josh Gordon, 17-yard reception from Tyrod Taylor. That tied the game at 21. Browns had a chance to win it in overtime. 43-yard field goal attempt with 9 seconds to go by Zane Gonzalez. His attempt is blocked by T.J. Watt, and that's how the game would end. The league's first opening week tie since 1971. By the way, the Browns didn't lose. They snapped a 17-game losing streak.
Obviously disappointed at the outcome, a tie game. I'm proud of the guys fighting, coming back, and giving us a chance there at the end. Obviously, defense did some good things, some things we got to continue to clean up, but getting 6 turnovers was really good. But the last play, I can't wait to see it. I'm talking about the blocked field goal, because I felt like somebody was offsides over there on the other side, but obviously they didn't call it, and got the ball got blocked, so we got to execute better. So obviously we got to play better on offense, especially early in the game.
Ezekiel Elliott pumping up the Cowboys before they take on Cam Newton and the Panthers. Newton finds Greg Olsen, gain of 19. He's shaken up. He gets tangled up with Kayvon Frazier. He would leave the game with a foot injury. In the second quarter, still no score, though, and Cam Newton keeps it himself. Why not? 4-yard score. Newton gives the kid a souvenir as well as the Panthers ride themselves in the end zone, 7-0 leads. Later second quarter, Panthers knock on the door again. Newton tries to avoid the sack, taken down by Jalen Smith. Panthers settle for a field goal. Carolina up 10-0 at that point. End of the fourth quarter, we take you, and the Cowboys trying to come back. They're down 16-0. Ezekiel Elliott takes the pitch, in from 4 yards out. 2-point conversion's good. Now it's an 8-point Cowboy deficit to Carolina. Under 2 minutes left, same score. Last chance for Dallas. Dak Prescott finding, looking around. He ends up fumbling the ball, recovered by Captain Munnerlyn. Prescott with the costly mistake. Panthers with the season-opening win, 16-8 over Dallas. And this programming reminder, Tuesday night's Fox 8 Overtime comes your way at 10:35. The entire Fox 8 crew will break down the biggest stories of the week. The Saints, LSU, Tulane, and high school football are all but guaranteed to be a part of the conversation. And we'll tackle what's going on nationally as well. Join us for Fox 8 Overtime this and every Tuesday night at 10:35 on Fox 8. Still to come, LSU won a tune-up for next week's battle at nationally ranked Auburn by taking care of Southeastern. But was their win against the Lions convincing enough for Tiger fans or for Coach O? And Tulane got into the win column by taking care of business against Nicholls State, who were going after back-to-back upsets of FBS opponents. We'll head uptown when the final play continues.
Watching the final play.
Our catch of the week comes from Baton Rouge last night, and a prayer was answered for the LSU Tigers. Final play of the first half against Southeastern, Joe Burrow going for it all. And he gets it all. Coming down with the catch, Stephen Sullivan, a 40-yard score as time expired. It's our Fox 8 catch of the week. And that was one of 4 touchdowns the Tigers put on the board last night against Southeastern. But this was one of those instances where scoring 4 touchdowns wasn't nearly good enough for the Tigers, which kind of tells you where the LSU program is right now. 31-0 was the final score against the Lions last night, and yet the feeling in Baton Rouge is that they should have scored much more. The offense was pedestrian. Quarterback Joe Burrow, just 10 of 20 passing for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. But there should have been more yards, more touchdowns put up by LSU's offense. It's something head coach Ed Orgeron knows he has to get figured out quickly.
You know, we played very good against a good Miami football team. I was a little disappointed tonight going into this football game. I thought we were doing the things that we need to do on offense. Now we have to go watch the tape, see what the breakdown is, see if it is just missing Sadiq, see if it is schematic-wise, see if it's effort-wise. We've got to figure out what's going on.
Here's your Associated Press poll. The top 6 has not changed one bit. Still got Alabama on top, followed by Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State, and Oklahoma's 5th. Wisconsin, number 6. By the way, this is the 106th overall appearance at the top of the AP rankings for Alabama. That's now an NCAA record. Other notables, what a matchup we're going to have in Auburn next week. A pair of ranked Tigers. Auburn 7th, LSU 12th. Mississippi State is 16th. Central Florida, they haven't lost in a long time. They're in at number 18. Also last night, Tulane needed a minute to assume control of the wheel in their win against Nicholls State. The Colonels were looking for back-to-back wins against an FBS school after knocking off Kansas last week. But the Greenies had other plans, as Garland Gillen reports from Uptown.
Nicholls kept their contest with Tulane close in the first half, but depth and a strong running game finally helped the Wave register their first win of the season.
Really happy with the win. A lot different than last time I was here, and you know, these are tough ball games to play. You know, I was telling our athletic director, you know, they upset us, and everybody remembers this game forever. Tomorrow afternoon, it'll be yesterday's news, right? Tulane's supposed to win this game when you play.
A huge difference maker in the game, Corey Dauphine. His 2 big touchdown runs deflated the Colonel defense and showed the Wave faithful they have a new running back to rely on uptown.
You got to be able to stop the run. We didn't stop the run. They did a great job, tremendous job in the second half. We got out of our gaps a couple of times, missed some tackles, but they got a good ball club. They did a good job.
Boy, he really played well. 6 carries, 152 yards. I guess it was just within a whisker of being a yard per carry record here at Tulane.
The Texas Tech transfer could have gotten a lot more yards against Nicholls, but dehydration got the best of him.
Yeah. You know, it's been a while since I've played, so my adrenaline was up there. And plus, I need to get back in game shape.
Unfortunately, we got dehydrated, and we had to go in before half, and you know, we were going to try to feed him the ball quite a bit more. But it's one of the things he's got to work on.
From Uptown, Garland Gillen, Fox 8 Sports.
Also on the field last night, Southern and Louisiana Tech, and this was all Bulldogs from start to finish. Tech quarterback Jamar Smith threw for 380 yards and 2 scores, and his running backs, Jaquai Darcy and Justin Henderson, had over 100 yards rushing apiece and 2 more scores, as the Bulldogs rolled to a 54-17 home win over the Jaguars, who are now 0-2 to start the season. Different week for Kansas, different result for the Jayhawks, who could have used former Hahnville star Puka Williams in last week's loss to Nichols. On Saturday, Williams was the most dangerous player on the field. 14 carries, 125 yards, and a couple of scores. In the Jayhawks' 31-7 win over Central Michigan, Puka was suspended for the Jayhawks opener. So let's turn the page to week 3 of the college football season. Tulane will look to keep the winning going when they visit Alabama Birmingham. The big one on the schedule, LSU visiting Auburn in a top 20 showdown in Auburn. Nichols jumps into conference play against McNeese State. UL Lafayette will try and pull the upset at Mississippi State. And Southeastern will return home to face Central Arkansas. Coming up, week 2 of the prep football season came in like a lion. We'll take a look back at some of the special performances when the final play continues.
Watching the final play.
Our high school play of the week takes us to Lutcher, where some late game heroics from St. James High stole the show. Great play call and great execution from Shamar Smith to Tyshawn Williams for the game-winning touchdown. Wildcats win a big one on the road, 29-26. And here are this week's Player of the Week nominees. Ponchatoula quarterback T.J. Finley, what a game for him. 26 of 39 passing, 601 yards, 7 touchdowns, and he ran for 2 more. Carr running back Ronnie Jackson, 246 yards rushing, 2 scores. And Easton quarterback Lance Lejean threw 5 touchdown passes, also ran 1 in as well. Voting begins tomorrow on fox8live.com and ends Wednesday night. Head over to the Fox 8 News app or fox8live.com, where we have highlights and scores from week 2. Plus, you can catch up on the latest recruiting news, check out our weekly power rankings, and preview next week's action. And we want to run down our fall football lineup for you. Our Sunday began with Fox 8 Live tailgate at 10 a.m. this morning. It'll end with this final play. Tomorrow at 10:35, we'll have the Black and Gold Review Show with Deuce McAllister. On Tuesday, Fox 8 Overtime comes your way as the entire Fox 8 sports crew discusses the big stories in sports with a local twist. Wednesday night, catch Game Plan as we get you ready for the Saints' upcoming opponent. And on Friday, it's Fox 8 Football Friday with Sean, Chris Hagan, and Garland Gillen, bringing you the best prep coverage in the area. And that's our show for tonight. For all of us here at Fox 8, I'm Juan Kincaid. We hope you'll join us again next Sunday night for the final play.
From Fox 8 Sports, this has been the final play.